1 week season.
Hey, welcome in OWS fam. Glad you are with us. We are back in the DFS lab, and as always, it's presented by 1 week season. And as you know, the purpose of the show, build a lineup on DraftKings and just use that as a vehicle to talk through the upcoming slate. So it is Tuesday, September 17th, getting my days all mixed up here. We are headed into week 3. I'm your host, Cheeseman, glad to be with you. And as always, if you find value in this content, we'd love it if you give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And with that, it is time to bring up Hilow. Hilow, how you doing, man? Thoughts on week 2? How was week 2 for you? Obviously, just a lot of craziness going on and just tons of injuries.
Yeah, week 2 was crazy, right? It was like week 1 and week 2 were so different as a slate because, I mean, the score needed to ship GPPs in week 1 was like 187, 188. Like, so it was just passing was down, defenses were doing well, rush rate was up. And then we hit week 2 and like you needed 230 to ship GPPs. So very different week. One of my biggest stands on the slate was avoiding the expensive chalk at running back. So while that led me to my primary running back pairing of J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason, they did well. They hit the bonus. They each scored a touchdown, but it's like it wasn't enough. I mean, Dobbins showed up in the optimal, but it was a week where you had to have Alvin Kamara or you weren't winning anything. Yeah. So I mean, 4 touchdowns. Oh my God, the Saints look really good. I mean, they looked good in week 1. And I say look like on the tape, like their metrics and their stats are so elite right now that they're not going to hold. But like what I'm seeing from Kubiak's offense is really, really nice. I mean, they went from like bottom 3 in like in play action rate and pre-snap motion rate to now they're like at the top of the league. And they're doing a lot of stuff that is really, really nice to see. And what I really, really like is how the run game and the pass game are meshing so well. So like situational tendencies within that, and then in their individual like play design and scheme, the route layering is really good. They have Taysom Hill to utilize if they need him. So it's just a really dynamic and fun offense. So yeah, we're going to talk about him here in a little bit. But yeah, last week I had all the right pieces. I didn't have any Alvin Kamara. I only built 5 rosters because I was taking shots in the 555 milli. So I only built 5 rosters. I didn't have any Alvin Kamara. And then the secondary aspect of my biggest stand was being able to pay down at running back. Because I felt like the field was kind of getting into this like psychological loop with J.K. Dobbins in that like the matchup was the best he'll see all season. We saw their run game, their offensive line was amazing. So I knew he wasn't going to get like 18, 19, 20 opportunities. But I mean, this is still a guy with a 6.1 career yards per carry in his rookie season, which is the last time he was fully healthy in 2020. He scored 9 touchdowns on only 135 carries, I believe, with the Ravens. So this Chargers offense is very similar to that 2020 Ravens team. So it just, to me, I felt like he probably wasn't going to garner enough ownership based on his efficiency. So I was taking a stand there. But yeah, so paying down at running back allowed me to pay up at wide receiver. So that was CeeDee Lamb, who had 97 yards in the first half and a touchdown. That was Justin Jefferson, who had 117 yards and a touchdown in the first half. That was Amon-Ra St. Brown, who eventually, all those guys either underperformed as a team or, the Cowboys got blown out or got injured. So it was like, damn it, man. Like I was all the right pieces. I was on Chris Godwin. The one place where I missed really heavily at wide receiver was Amari Cooper. That matchup was great on paper, and he just like that. Just Sean Watson is all discombobulated. So anyway, all the right pieces didn't make any money because they didn't come together right, and then the injury bug.
Yeah, man. For me, it got to that point like midway through the first early afternoon window on Sunday where I started to have that phrase in my mind: no Kamara, no cash, or no first place finishes in tournaments. So Kamara was just one that I completely overlooked. But I think the thing that was hardest for me was I had some Marvin Harrison in some of my lineups, and I just I talked myself out of him. Just was very humbled because that's the way I want to play. I want to take those plays that are a little more low owned and be willing to take that risk. And I chickened out, man, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that was
I
disappointing.
was at that game with my family and just watching is like, okay, Marvin Harrison, 100 yards and 2 tutties in the first quarter. Okay. And I had a ton of Cooper Kupp, and then he gets injured and now he's out. It's like, oh man. I knew I was dead while I was at the game. I was like, oh man, that's so sad.
I know that's like you're trying to like enjoy the game, and I'm sure that you did. And I've actually been to that stadium as well. The I forget what the actual name of it is now, but it's a great stadium. Yeah, State Farm Arena or something like that. Great stadium. I love that, like how they roll the turf in there for the Cardinals. So let's take a look though at this. Let's jump into DraftKings here. I've got pulled up. We're going with the $100 single entry SPY today. And so kind of high level, like who do you like as we kind of dive into this week 3 slate? Obviously, again, it's only Tuesday, so this is a very early look and a lot of injuries right now, a lot of situations we're going to have to monitor. But right now we have 3 games with a 49 plus total and tight spreads as well. So kind of who do you like initially as you look at this slate?
Yeah, so first off, before we jump into that, last week we built for a milli maker. Yes, it was the 555, and yes, that there was only like 6,000 entries. This week we're going to shift gears and go to a single entry. So I wanted to change it up a little bit and show kind of the mindset for building for different structures and different contests. And you'll see that kind of as we talk through today with this SPY kind of mentality. But yeah, as far as the slate, like you're right, there are 3 clear and away like top expected game environments. You have the Eagles and the Saints with a 50-point total. You have the Ravens and Cowboys at 49, and then the Lions and Cardinals at 51 and a half, 52 and a half. Doing public math here. So there's very interesting dynamics within that none of those offenses have shown to like themselves to be overly concentrated. There is a slight potential tweak to that. We don't expect AJ Brown to play. We saw Devontae Smith step into 10 targets on Monday night. And then the Saints are very, very interesting because while they have been relatively concentrated, we haven't seen a ton of volume because they have been so efficient. So how does that change if the game environment shapes out different? How does that change if they're not, scoring 2 touchdowns of 70 yards plus every week? Very, very interesting dynamics with that team. I'd expect a lot of ownership to flow to that Lions and Cardinals game. And then of these top expected game environments, I don't expect as much attention to be played to the Ravens and the Cowboys. There's also all kinds of injuries. I mean, look at the state of San Francisco. They're without Christian McCaffrey. They're going to be without Deebo Samuel for 2 to 3 weeks with I think a calf strain, something like that. So there's very, very interesting dynamics, I think, to attack. And we're going to talk about some of those here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a couple of questions based on those games that you mentioned. I mean, I guess, do you want to talk about the Saints yet? Because they had 44 against Dallas on the road, 47 against the Panthers. Is this like, can we trust what we're seeing right now? Like you said, like a new offensive coordinator, and you've watched the tape on them, and they're doing things differently this year than they were last year in terms of pre-snap motion and just, you mentioned several things already.
Yeah. So yes and no. Yes, we can expect them to be a much better offense than last season. No, they're not going to score points on every possession. Like they have scored on every possession with Derek Carr under center this season. So like, yes, they'll be better than they were last year. Yes, they could even be a top 5-10 offense throughout the season. They're not going to be this good, but there's interesting dynamics to that offense. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me when I'm looking at this team is Rashid Shaheed on play action is absolutely dominating the 7 to 9 routes. And we saw it on tape last year, He was a heavy best ball target for me this season, and he's absolutely dominating those looks. What I'm looking for is now Chris Olave, who's running a full route tree. He's running 1 through 9 routes in this offense. I'm looking for him to see those intermediate to deep targets because his ADOT is like 6.0 or something through 2 weeks. It's not very deep. So while he's running a full route tree, he's not being targeted on the intermediate to deep stuff right now. I'm looking to see, will that change? I'm looking to maybe be ahead of that. And he's going to be a player we're going to talk about a little bit more when we start building.
Awesome. Any other high-level thoughts on this slate before you want to jump in and kind of look at how we start this build?
It's a pretty dirty slate. I think this one is probably, it's not going to be like a 187 point to win GPP type week, but it's also not going to be like, I don't think going to be like a 230 point win type or score needed to win type week. Probably in the 205 to 210 range. So that's kind of going to affect how we build for a single entry contest.
Absolutely. With that, I mean, do you want to look at quarterback first or a primary stack?
Yeah, we're gonna just jump right in with our primary stack. I mentioned the 49ers earlier. What we typically struggle to diagnose with the 49ers is not like, are they going to have offensive success? It's where is it coming from?
Absolutely.
Now with CMC out and with Debo out, who are their primary like short area guys, it's going to open up this offense and they're going to have to do some stuff differently this week. And they play a Rams team who just got obliterated by the Cardinals. So there's a lot to like from this offense. We brought up this stat, I think last week, but now since they failed to score 30 points last week, in 16 of 26 Brock Purdy starts throughout his career, this team has gone over 30 points. So the other issue with that is 3 of the times they didn't do so last season was with Deebo Samuel out. But against the Rams, a team that is going to play a lot of soft zone coverage, they don't have the talent to go man heavy. They don't have the talent to really overcome a lot. So they're trying to overcome their shortcomings as far as their personnel with scheme, and they're playing off coverage. They're playing a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4. And so against that, it's like, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm just looking to see if I can like sustain drives. And it kind of similar to what we saw in week 1 against the Jets. They were able to sustain drives. They didn't come away with the touchdowns, but they were scoring points. They kicked 4 field goals, something like that. So if I'm Kyle Shanahan, it's like, how do I just want to get through this week with a win. I want to sustain drives, and I'm probably going to be attacking over the short to intermediate areas of the field and then taking my shots downfield. And those shots are probably coming through Brandon Ayuk. So if that's the case against a defense that is pretty banged up, pretty poor on paper, they're trying to overcome those shortcomings with scheme. I kind of want to just be like, in single entry, I think you have a path to, if this team does score 30 plus points, if they're scoring 4 touchdowns, we can capture a ton of upside with a team overstack here. So we're going to start with Brock Purdy, Jordan Mason, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. We're going to do it all.
I love it. I want to ask you real fast because, maybe some people will look back at last week and say, oh, they struggled on the road against the Vikings. But I know I can't get into the details of this, but I feel like maybe you could. What's unique about the way the Vikings run their defense? Last year, the Niners had trouble with the Vikings. Yeah. And last week they did. What's unique about that defense? And as you just said, I love how you go into the detail with the way the Rams play coverage and why this could be a good spot for the Niners this week, as opposed to what was it about the Vikings last week?
Brian Flores is the mad scientist as a defensive coordinator. He plays a ton of zone, but what he does so differently than a lot of other defensive coordinators that also play a ton of zone is none of it is the same from snap to snap. So he'll play quarters and he'll send the weak side safety on a blitz. He'll play cover 3 and then drop a linebacker from like a Tampa 2 mentality. So he's mixing all these unique blends of all these different like coverages and alignments. And it really keeps opposing offenses kind of playing this guessing game the entire game. Whereas a team like the Rams, they're very, very static. They play a lot of zone, but they're very, very static in their approach within that zone. So the coverages are more or less similar. Whereas like Flores is giving you all kinds of different looks. The secondary is shifting around. He'll show you, he likes to play a lot of quarters. And quarters coverage is from dime. So 6 defensive backs on the field. And he'll do so by like dropping a safety into the box, or he'll show you quarters and then it'll turn into cover 3 because a safety, or like he has these all different like unique tendencies. So it's very, very hard to game plan, one, against that because you don't really know what's coming. And then 2, everything you do on offense seems a little bit more reactionary. You're going out there and you're forced to play a little bit more street ball because, I mean, he's bringing corner blitzes, he's bringing linebacker blitzes, he's bringing safety blitzes, and he's doing it all from this like heavy zone coverage shell. And when we're talking about like alignments or shells, these are pre-snap. So typically what you see in a more static defense is pre-snap motion, play action are going to be really, really effective against that because you understand how an opposing defense is going to react to those. You understand, hey, if I send Cooper Kupp in motion, or whoever my motion man, Tyreek Hill, like the list goes on. If I send him in motion, I'm looking to see how the defense reacts to that. Does a corner travel with him? Okay, we're in man. Does he get passed off? Do we see a linebacker shift to the strong side? There's all these unique tendencies that like you're looking for when you execute pre-snap motion. And then when you execute play action, you're looking to see how the safeties are going to react to that. Are they cheating down into the box against the run, which is a very, very strong tendency from cover 3 that we see this season, is if you see the quarterback drop back and extend his hand, it's diagnosing it as a run. And now I got to step into the box because that's my responsibility as a safety. So that's where you see these splash plays to the perimeter down the sideline against cover 3, because now you have a single high look, a single safety in the secondary. So it's very easy because you understand like what do I expect off of that pre-snap motion? What do I expect to see off of this play action if a safety is dropping down into the box? Flores, you don't see a lot of that. It's very, very hard. And it's a lot more reactionary street ball type of offense that you have to run against that because it's so unpredictable. So hopefully that answers that.
No, that is great stuff. And it just, you explained it super well. And it really makes sense as to why, like, don't necessarily panic about the Niners last week, even though Debo is out and, CMC's out, we have to accept that. But still, like you said, if this is a team that can put up 30 with this overstack, you have the potential for a lot of points to come through these players. So there's your overstack. You got the 4 in there. Where do you want to go next here?
We're going to execute a bring back. Now, you don't need to, but I think it makes sense with a team like the Rams, who are without 2 of their top playmakers. And that really, really brings opportunity. So if we look at the snap rates last week, we saw Tyler Johnson and Demarcus Robinson kind of playing a near every down snap rate. And this is for a Rams team that has been in 11 personnel on 100% of their offensive snaps this season. So they're running from 11. And if we look at the tendencies, it was Jordan Whittington that stepped into the Cooper Kupp and somewhat Puka Nacua role. McVay has been able to kind of interchange Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua when they're both healthy. He's able to make either or the motion man. He's able to do some very, very interesting things with the pairing. But now the closest person on their roster to that kind of archetype is actually Jordan Whittington. So we saw Cooper Kupp he played the entirety of the first half basically, and then left after half. And that led to Jordan Whittington seeing a 53% snap rate. So that was like a handful of snaps prior to the half, and that was every snap basically after the half. So I'd expect we see, and that was, everybody thinks Tutu Atwell is going to be the third wide receiver. I don't see it. he's just not. I mean, they've given him all the opportunities. He's been with the Rams for a few seasons now. He's just a special teams guy, and he's just kind of a depth option. And we saw it reflected in the snap rates. I mean, I think he played like 9 offensive snaps last week. So I expect this to be Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, and Jordan Whittington. And of those 3, Jordan or Demarcus Robinson is highly unlikely to see his role change. He's just kind of like this 4 to 8 or 9 route type guy. He has a very clearly defined role in this offense. And so the player that I like here, and I think nobody's going to be on him, is actually Jordan Whittington. I was at the game. I saw him utilized as the motion man. It was him and Tutu Atwell that were kind of the motion man in this offense in the second half. And again, Tutu Atwell played like 9 snaps. So if Jordan Whittington is going to be that motion man, if he's going to be the guy that kind of is the diagnoser, he's the guy that they use to diagnose what we expect on the opposing defense. There's definite upside there. And so when I'm looking at like paying down, we still have to have a path to 25 plus fantasy points. You can't just pay down and say like, oh, he got me 12 fantasy points and that's a 3x multiplier. We're good. These guys still kind of have to have a path. So I think Jordan Whittington probably has the best path to upside from the Rams. This is an offense coming off of a disgusting loss. But with Sean McVay, with a full week of preparation. So, for example, like Jordan Whittington probably wasn't practicing all of that stuff in practice last week because Cooper Kupp was. Now without Cooper Kupp, without Puka Nacua, Whittington is going to get a full week of practice being that guy in this offense. So I think there's definite upside, and I like him on this kind of like over game stack type look here.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, so let's see. You want to go defense next, or you want to kind of look at running back? Where do you want to go next?
Yeah, let's fill in the other running back. And we're going to pencil in Devon Achane. Why is that? I mean, after the game, or I guess it came on Monday in a presser, Mike McDaniel was talking to the press, and he said, like, this dude is earning everything we're giving him, and he's always asking for more. So yeah, he's coming off a 29 opportunity game, but like it's happening. Like the flippening is happening. So with a guy like Devon Achane, with their quarterback situation, Skylar Thompson, is that his name? The backup quarterback in Miami. He has targeted running backs like 30% more than Tua Tagovailoa during his career. So this is a spot where it's like, we're not going to be able to attack downfield as efficiently. I mean, for all the things that Tua Tagovailoa isn't, he is a very adept downfield passer. Skylar Thompson is not. So if I'm Mike McDaniel scheming this game up with my backup quarterback against a good opposing defensive coordinator, they don't necessarily have the personnel yet, but in Mike McDaniel or Mike McDonald, sorry, this is a spot where Devon Achane has legitimate like 7 to 9, maybe a little bit more target upside here. So for a guy like Achane, that's immense ceiling.
No, yeah, absolutely love that, especially with the targets. Okay, so where do you want to go next? Receiver, defense? What are you thinking?
We're going to go to wide receiver, and we're going to pencil in Chris Olave, a guy we talked about earlier on the Saints. Trying to be early on him seeing the more downfield work. Again, all the underlying metrics are there. He's in a route at a high rate. And this offense just hasn't run a ton of plays. Eventually, Chris Olave is going to hit, and I like him to do so here. I like his upside against a Philadelphia Eagles secondary that is not exactly what it used to be.
Yeah, man, Philly. I guess was under the assumption that their defense was a fairly solid defense, and maybe they aren't as good as we thought, especially after last night. That drive they gave up to Kirk Cousins. I guess we'll see. Still 2 games in.
Yeah. Let's go to defense and see how much salary we got left over for the flex. There's options kind of at all price range. The Browns are a good option up top. The Packers are a good option against Tennessee. Let's put in the Packers. What do they have? 5 picks through 2 games, something like that. They had 3 on Richardson. I think they had 2 in the opening game. This is a defense that has some pretty solid talent. And I mean, 5 picks through 2 games. If they can get pressure in the backfield against Tennessee, we're probably gonna see some Will Levis mistakes here.
Yeah, through the first 2 games, Will Levis has made some mistakes.
Yeah, so that leaves us 5,100 for the flex. So let's see what we got remaining.
Yeah, so let's see. Addison.
Keep going down a little bit.
Okay.
None of those guys jump off the page to me. All right. Yeah, we're going to throw in Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
Deontay Johnson there at 4,900. We have the quarterback change in Carolina. So now it could be, and we don't know, but it could be a more functioning offense with Andy Dalton under center. So we had all the offseason reports about, coming from Dave Canales that, hey, we're going to operate our offense through Deontay Johnson, and they just haven't been able to do anything through the first 2 weeks. So if that changes with Andy Dalton at quarterback, the play here is they're going to make good on all of that preseason talk here with Deontay Johnson. So he's led the team in targets over the first 2 weeks, but that was 6 targets. So not really a ton to get excited, but there's upside if this offense is sustaining more drives, if this offense is doing offense stuff, if they're more efficient, if they're functioning, there's upside for Deontay Johnson to see 10, 11, 12 looks here. And at 4,900, can't really get much better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly a buy low opportunity. So there's your lineup. Again, built this for the $100 single entry spy on DraftKings. Hilow, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, this overstack team mentality with the 49ers. This is a viable path for these. This spy still has 4,400 entries, something like that. So maybe not as viable in a contest of this size. Maybe in the other spy with 50K to first, or the 1,100 person spy. If you're looking to capture bulk scoring. On a week where we came in with the assumption that we kind of don't need 230 points to ship this week.
Absolutely. Well, Hilow, man, just a really, really sharp analysis top to bottom. Especially, I like your perspective with this Niners overstack. So that'll wrap it up for the lab. Yeah, man, thanks for joining us. Once again, this has been fun, and really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy doing these. This is awesome.
Awesome, man. Hey, guys, make sure to check out tomorrow. Mike Johnson and Maximum will be on the DFS Lab breaking down the FanDuel slate. But thanks for joining us, and good luck this weekend, guys. We'll talk to you soon.